So my girl Bree posted a video on here recently where she spoke about a time in her life when she remember portraying a different personality depending, well, several different personalities, depending on the group of people she interacted with, where she even had multiple Instagram accounts. And that so resonated with me because there was a time in my life when I was the same way. I portrayed a different persona depending on the group of people I was with in order to make myself more digestible to those people in that group. So I would be extremely conservative and obedient around adults, managers, elders. And when I was around people my own age, my peers, co-workers and stuff, I'd be completely wild and reckless, just like all the rule breakers. Even among my peers and those around my age, for the ones who were kind and caring and obedient, I'd be kind and caring and obedient just like them. But then the reckless rule breakers, when they're in the back and I decide I want to go with them, I'd go with them and be reckless and rule breaking and careless just like all of them. I was just, whatever crowd I was with, I'd just adjust so that I could fit in. That was my whole goal, to fit in and not be standing out different. The thing is, I never saw a problem with it. I didn't even think anything was wrong with it until the year I announced that I was fasting for Lent. And I got these tears from all these different people. Apparently, a good bunch of them was shocked and didn't think I was that churchy. And I found that so strange because to me, as far as I remember as a child, I always liked being churchy. I like being obedient. I like obeying the 10 Commandments, being kind to people and generous to people, even though they're not kind and generous with me. I like obeying the rules. But then I remembered even then, I was heckled and bullied and I didn't want to for being that way. And so I started gradually changing depending on the environment I was around in order to not be bullied. So that kind of contributed to my change and where I started adjusting based on whatever environment I was in, just to fit in, to not be bullied, to not stand out. So that day when I discovered that I was actually adjusting and I was no longer representing the person I truly was inside, I decided to make a conscious decision there and then to not conform to what people expect me to be or what makes them feel comfortable, but to be who I am inside unapologetically. And I remember specifically when that happened. There's this girl I went to school with, and we were virtually the same size, and I always struggled with weight my entire life. With weight, trying to lose weight, I was always overweight. And we bumped into each other some years after school, and she was half her size. I'm like, what did you do? I have to know, tell me everything. And she said she fasted for Lent. I said, what? Okay, I'm gonna try this. And that year I tried fasting for Lent. And I remember I went to work and we always order lunch in groups so we could get this huge discount. And they were ordering and I'm like, oh no, don't order anything for me this month because I'm fasting for Lent. The looks I got right there and then, I realized clearly I was not living out this Christian life as I should. Because people don't even believe you're a Christian, you fast for Lent, you go to church. I felt so ashamed. People don't even know that about me. What kind of life was I living? What kind of persona was I portraying then? So at that moment, I made that conscious decision and I started changing the way I lived, changing to represent who I truly was inside. And that had such a huge impact on my life. When I tell you, I started getting blessings, promotions, and to the point where others around me were noticing. I didn't even have to tell people about Christ, talk to them about Christ, invite them to church. They were coming to me, asking me what I was doing. How you getting promoted? How you getting this? How they just come to you and offer you things just like that. And I was just like, I had to tell them, right? There's one particular guy I remember. He was like, why are you always so churchy? Why are you always so committed? He couldn't understand why I was always so committed to Christianity. He wanted to know what was this huge thing God did for me. And I'm like, I don't know. I just really love and enjoy going to church and doing good. It blesses my soul. I don't know. But I had totally forgotten about the abusive relationship and all that. To me, I really started enjoying living for God. And then they also asked me, how come you're not hungry after fasting all day for Lent? I'm like, they said for some moment they probably didn't believe that I was fasting, except for the fact that you could see it in my clothes because I'm always happy and jolly and bubbly. So they're like, how come? But you could see it in my clothes. My clothes started getting slack. I had to buy new clothes. My entire wardrobe had to shift. So you could see the evidence that I was actually fasting. Sometimes they would see me at my desk all day, but then sometimes they'd wonder, is she going to eat when she ran off to the washroom? She's sneaking away to eat, but you can see the evidence in my body. So The way I lived started preaching to them and wanting them to come to me. I didn't even have to say a word. My actions were doing all the preaching for me. And then there's this one episode that happened where I got promoted. It was kind of crazy because apparently the supervisor from another department came and requested me, and in my CSR department, and my supervisor told her no because she needs me more. And she said, I am not willing to do the transfer. So the supervisor came later on and asked me why I'm not willing to transfer. And I'm like, transfer? I don't even know what you're talking about. She's like, you don't want promotion, you don't want to get more pay. I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. She said, oh, okay, I'll deal with that. She went to HR to demand to me. So like they were fighting over me. God will grant you divine favor in the eyes of people. So they notice your work ethic and they start grappling for you to get you into their department. Even when I went into her department and got that promotion instantly, I started working again overtime, even though I'm not getting paid overtime, fixing their systems, adjusting, working on the intranet, because even if the CSRs would call into us to get information. So even if they don't get us on the line, I worked on the intranet building and putting all the information so they still had access to it. Now, mind you, I had very basic knowledge in programming at the time, only at secondary school level, and see me trying now to understand and comprehend this thing every day, all in the evening, and a lecturer passes by a couple of times and she notices what I'm doing. And what do you know? She teaches programming. God, only God. She's like, why don't you come to my class? She's like, you can come for free. I'll talk to them. You can sit in the back and learn. And so I got free training in programming and web design and web development. And listen, I can't even begin to tell you how much that blessed me later on in life. Years after I left that school, I got some huge business contracts because of that simple programming. Simply because I was doing my work ethic of being obedient to what God is calling us to do. Got promoted, got to that department, started being committed, doing work again to assist wherever I am placed. I'm being diligent, I'm being committed, I'm being consistent. I'm giving my all. And people are noticing. God is seeing the work I'm doing, and He's placing my name on the hearts of others. He's opening their eyes to see what I'm doing so that I can get blessed, I can get promoted, so more people can be exposed to my Christian living. So all I'm saying to you here is the same thing that Jesus and all the apostles and disciples said in the entire New Testament. Be a living sacrifice to God. Devote yourself to doing good, being good, showing mercy, being kind to others, even if they're not kind to you. And humbly submitting to God, going after Him to learn more, to desire to be more obedient to Him. How can you say you love and serve God and you believe in Him if you're not living for Him? If you're not being obedient to His commands and instructions to love each other in spite of how they are treating us? How can you say that? Right? You can say, yes, you believe God is God, Jesus is Lord, but even the demons believe. The scripture says even the demons believe and tremble. That doesn't mean they're going to get into heaven. Your works, faith without works, if you believe, you act upon that faith. Your faith without works means nothing. So yes, we are called to go out into all the world and preach the gospel, but more importantly, we are called to live as Christians. Living out our Christian faith is way more important than telling people about Christianity. As the saying goes, sometimes a Christian life, my life, your life, is the only Bible some people will ever read. So as an ambassador for Christ, ensure that you are representing Him well. Love each other. Do good, be kind, be generous. You know the words. I'll put the scriptures in the comments below. How can you say you love the Lord if you're not doing what He asks of you? Love each other. You have to love His children.